Oh Ghana, what's my name? If you check people's ID and the day of their birth, that might give a clue. Welcome to my video in Ghana, where if you are a Kofi, you're a Friday boy. If you're an Adwa, you're a Monday girl.
Just like the Greeks and Italians, let's take a second to celebrate our names. In Ghana, there's 7 days to choose from. Britain does not hold onomastic celebrations, but what it does have is a habit of relinquishing territories. The Chagos Islands, 2024, Jamaica, 1962, and since the Ghana Independence Act, the Gold Coast, 1957. And what have we got to commemorate this? The Independence Square in the nation's capital, just across the road from the National Stadium in the middle of a busy roundabout, and high above this arch is the Black Star, the lodestar of African freedom and a symbol inspired by Marcus Garvey's shipping company, the Black Star Line. To complete the trifecta of Ghanaian glory is the open-air arena between the Independence Arch and the statue of the unknown soldier where military parades usually happen. Just down the road, and once you get past the street sellers outside flogging stuff from street art to getting ridden by a donkey and anything in between, is the Memorial Park and Mausoleum dedicated to the first president of the Osag Afo himself, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The site of Ghana's Declaration of Independence, it offers a little tour of the political life of the showboy himself, where you could even do the pointy thing. Where did he end up? Oh yes, here, under an upside down sword with a wife 3 feet away. Well, he was deposed in 1966 after the coup d'etat by the National Liberation Council before his death in 1972. Why that pivotal? As part of the Big Six who set up the United Gold Coast Convention, he set out a vision of Pan-Africanism which sought to unify and empower African nations. Down the road is Christiansborg Castle, or Osu Castle, a fortress as white as a ghost. This was built in the 1660s by the Danish, whose occupancy was cut in 1679 after a mutiny and sold to the Portuguese before changing hands further back to the Danes, Akwamu people, the Danes again, then the British in 1850. Initially used as a post to trade gold and ivory, the post was also involved in the slave trade. Anybody who makes the visit to Osu can relive the journey that 1.5 million slaves went through en route to the Americas, familiarizing themselves with dark, claustrophobic and oven-like dungeons where slaves were held captive 30 to 60 at a time for up to 6 months.
Yes. And then definitely it will be darker than what you are seeing now, because that's not the original door to go all the way to the top as well. So the first one, some of you were not there, we visited. The same thing they did in the first one, this is also served as a swimming pool. So they eat, poop, urinate, everything.
At the main courtyard is a water system with an inscription of Carl Gustav Engman, a Danish governor of the castle who married Ashiokai, a local Gar woman. But what about the upstairs? The nice parts of the castle. After colonialism, the castle hosted dignitaries like Queen Elizabeth II, who in 1961 slept in this very bedroom. How plush.
Elizabeth II, whose date was supposed to come in the year 1960, officially had over, which was impossible. She came a year after, which was 1961. So this was a very rich used while she was here.
And in this very office where the former President Jerry John Rawlings sat with beautiful views of the surroundings in case urgent cleansing was required.
19 years in total. 11 years in each.
If you don't mind the scatty nature, this great room and dining hall used to entertain visiting merchants and where trade deals were negotiated over elaborate dinners.
Alright, so please let's head to the chapel.
Next door is a chapel built by the Portuguese. Well, you can never accuse those who preach the gospel of hypocrisy now, can ya?
So as I said earlier,
Nevertheless, down the spiral steps we go. In the final part of their stay, slaves are transported through the door of no return and onto the trading boats, never to see Africa again. If they survived, they were put into servitude. If not, in the ocean they went.
so let's quickly brief you.
A few kilometers away, another remnant of the past is Jamestown, where the Portuguese, Dutch, Swedes, Danish and British sought a piece of the action. Past the Macola Market and the home of a lighthouse, former colonial buildings and corrugated iron shacks house a lively but impoverished fishing community. Within these white walls is a fort which seemingly is not open, but past the signs discouraging teenage pregnancy, and in the middle of the court next to the boxing gym is an inconspicuous hole. Not everything is what it seems. The hole served as a well to hold rainwater, but it also served as a secret dungeon which held slaves away from the prying public. Down we go, but what cannot be felt by the screen is how hot it is and what it is at the very far end of the dungeon. I don't want to know. Just around the corner is a sign, Jeunesse Fair, an organisation that seeks to help children and young adults in difficult circumstances through education and engagement. From a chat with the tour guide, he describes the challenge facing the local community. How do you keep kids who dropped out of school stay off the streets and in education?
So if you have a book station, have a place that they can sit in. But do they come?
So it was super humbling to hear that he runs a school that seeks to address this, but tells of the difficulties he faces, namely the lack of funding for educational resources and for lighting the classrooms, just to keep things going. But it was really encouraging to see the videos he showed how the kids want to learn English and French.
With that. So anybody that wants to help, when he gets the contact, he can give away any.
It's a night at the theatre, and you know what I love? Brass band and 3 bags of jollof rice sauce. Tonight's performance is a comedic play called I Want to Feed You, written by Uncle Ebo White, who popped up afterwards.
Good evening. Did you enjoy the show? Then shall we put our hands together for the cast?
Time to reconnect with nature at Reuben Botanical Gardens with whatever is left of the park. Unfortunately, that won't be very much, given that it will close in early November 2024. So no trip to woods, high rope course or canopy walkway. But enjoy the boat ride whilst it lasts. into the night, and one thing Accra downtown is known for is the street food. And you can't resist the taste of pork, goat, chicken and beef kebabs, sausages and yam chips. In the UK, it is said that 3 nightclubs a week are closing down, but in Accra, we still got party going. Let's deck out the stage with the Ghanaian flag, shake that thang, and put out the hip life and the hard music on before we move out of Accra. In the eastern region, market dates like this in Kurakan bring out the locals and stop the traffic, but this is the perfect place to get your plantains, tomatoes and maybe some water.
So, to quote TLC, please don't go chasing for waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to. But here, we're at the Boti Waterfalls.
A 30-meter drop in a Huhunya forest where water takes its course from the river known as the romp. It is said that the larger fall is the male and the smaller one the female. Nearby is the 3-headed palm tree, fascinating like a Ukrainian trident. And in the Yilo Krovo district, there's the umbrella rock to hang around in, but it does make a good view of the forest below. A few kilometers away, near the Akere Mateng village, is the Accra waterfalls, which takes a long downhill trek to get to, but the scenery is just so admirable. Why wear a cap? Look above, there are some bats. At the foot of the canyon is where the multiple waterfalls pool together. The site itself is part of a police academy where you can make some new friends, like these pair of monkeys, snakes, and this snap-happy basque of crocodiles. Near the village of Akrapong is the Asenema waterfalls, said to be discovered by a local farmer. Unlike the Kintampo waterfalls, the water does not look like it's been touched by Galamsey yet. But what could happen if it did? Somewhere in the Asin Atandanso Reserve is a Kakum National Park which bills Ghanaians and non-Ghanaians different prices for the same activities. Camping, witching, hiking, and for today, walking on a canopy. It's like the Tesco card prices. It's a long walk up to get up there and a long time to read the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 10. And no, money is good. It pays off services like street lighting. Once you go past the dense forest and learn about how certain trees have antidote-like properties with a rest stop along the way, it's at the platform we go. Hopefully, no one will have A, bought stilettos or other ill-footing footwear, B, had a drink, or C, watched Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and garnered any ideas. The canopy walkway is only 333 meters long, and it's only 7 suspension bridges, and if you drop, it's only 27 meters above the forest floor. Can't be much trouble, right? Speaking of drops, don't drop your belongings here. There's enough holes in the planks as there is, and look how jumpy and swingy the ends are. But don't forget to observe the landscape. Hold the ropes too tightly, you'll get rope burn.
I'm not the last of the group.
No, we love with it.
After heart-in-mouth action, it's a little trip to the Hans Cottage Motel. And why not soak in the atmosphere and make some new reptilian friends?
You know your grandpa.
Elmina, a historic town located on the southern coast of Ghana, built by the Portuguese in 1482, which translates as mine. Unfortunately, pedestrian footpaths were not considered into the designing of the streets. Instead, open gutters, which you really have to dodge during nightfall when pounding the streets. Most of the economic activity in this town is fishing, and by sunrise, the harbour is already bustling.
This song is a special request. Mr. Ablapia, I'll see you
As for that big white thing there, it is the castle established by the Portuguese as Castelo de João Elmina and helped give Portugal a monopoly of the gold trade. But as gold prices fell, the transatlantic slave trade gained prominence in the 16th century, and in 1637 the Portuguese were booted out by the Dutch, who later fortified it. The castle was then a major terminal for the capture and export of captive Africans and served as an administrative centre for the Dutch operations in the West.
During the lessons, we are just few. So we'll start from the female dance. We are at the female courtyard, and all the rooms here were used for holding the male and the female captives. They were held in here. They were numbered about 400 women.
Male and female captives were segregated into single-sex dungeons, but imagine being shackled and chained up with hundreds of others in such brutal conditions, raped, stripped of dignity, and nowhere to go to either menstruate or defecate. 3 months at a time.
To rape any of them before they open the doors. Now let's see. Over here held 130 women, so at the time 400 women at a time. As we are touring the castle, anywhere you see red bricks, they were brought from Portugal.
Yeah.
Anywhere you see yellow bricks, the Dutch from the Netherlands brought this ones too. So different Europeans were here. These are not original, these are wooden bars. The original, these ones, iron bars. The iron bars were placed at the windows to prevent them from escaping. If it were these wooden bars, they would have broken it. They were very, very strong. When you look around, you see these clothing. They are not original. They brought them here to just show to our visitors how the slaves were dressed. Only their private part was covered those days.
Yeah.
When the ships arrived, all the female slaves that survived, this is where they marched them. We call this place the female passage to the room of no return. When we get inside, you will not see the staircase. The British converted it into a drainage. We added this one later on for safety reasons. Now we want to see the room of no return.
Once the castle was done with the slaves, they were led down to the door of no return, transported to the Americas, never to see Africa again.
Became known as the transatlantic slave trade.
We don't see a plaque of those who perished, but we see one of Lambert Jacob van Pets, the God-fearing last Director General of the Dutch West India Company, who died on the 12th of March 1758 of malaria.
Malaria confirmed killed him. When he died, he was very right here.
The first two doors were imprisonment cells. Guess which one was for Europeans and guess which one was for Africans.
Two cells. The European cell, the African cell. Let's go into each of them and tell the story. Down below, the African cell.
Well, what about the upstairs? For the governor, well, he had a couple of good rooms all to himself with a good view of the sea and of the courtyard below, with some cannons outside for some extra security.
The governor alone lives here. This door here is his washroom. Same door leads to an emergency exit. Anytime there's an attack, he will quickly escape. So
the castle continued to be in the hands of the Dutch until 1872, when the British took over before it ceded to Ghana in 1957, and today is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is an unconventional bus station, but it's back on the road again and on the trolley bus, so hit the Amapiano music. Okay, that did not work out as intended, but we head towards a final stop in a country known for its 3 Gs. Gospels, gutters and galamsey, the jewel city of Kakum Takoradi in the western region where there is a real big fish. But the question is, how did the town historically get its name? Did it come from the takore tree, takoredua, tari and taco, or a combo of the Portuguese word tacarado and the Manhattan word taco? Well, who knows? But one thing that we do know is that there is the Visa Abewe Museum. It hosts a load of artifacts throughout African history up to Black Lives Matter, where it is really for your eyes only. Just to give that extra special welcome, outside are statues of the Sandema warriors, fighters from the Bosa community who held off the warlord Babatu, the warrior king Asebu Amenthi, and Ya Asantewa, the rifle-holding Ashanti warrior queen. Further along the coast is Fort Orange, built in 1642 as a trading post on the Dutch Gold Coast to protect Dutch interests from rival powers and local kingdoms, but is not hosting much nowadays, apart from a few occupiers. The estate seems to have been abandoned and gone into disrepair, but if you had a bit of cash, this would make a lodge with a lovely view of the Atlantic Ocean.
Speaking of disrepair, half the roof of the local Takoradi train station seems to have blown off. Passenger trains run very infrequently, if barely, and if you miss one, you are walking. Further along the railway line is a Kakum station with an overhanging bridge. Makes a nice view, but you'll be waiting all day and night for the next train to come along. Before it became a commercial hub with the addition of a seaport, Takoradi was primarily a fishing village and past neighbourhoods on their fishing boats. They look handy as a means to cross from Calais to Dover. But here's what I came to see in Takoradi: the beach. Not just some palm trees, but also an abandoned fort which does not even seem to be half built. Nevertheless, we end up in a final post here in Vienna City Beach between the port and the fort. Before night falls at 7, bring out the beach towels, have a sip of the cocktails at poolside and enjoy the food at the nearby restaurant before recording the latest Instagram post or YouTube video like this one that just ran for the past half an hour. Before I go, we must have more of the brass band.